You know the rules, guys. When it's my sleepover, I get to pick what movie we watch. Nothing like rehashing an old internet joke for your intro because you lack originality to do anything actually creative or funny. But anyway, getting back into this series again, this is part 32 of my vinyl collection, and we're going to be starting the O's within this, so clearly past the halfway point. I want to say we're about 3/4 of the way done with this series until I just start doing regular vinyl updates. But anyway, what happened recently was awesome, especially if you're a vinyl nerd like myself, because a few days ago I went to go visit my mom in my old city of New Bedford, and in that city has a record store called Purchase Street Records. And I've only gone there a handful of times, mainly because the owner does have some really steep prices for the records, but they are really rare. But again, the prices always turn me off. But the reason why I went this time was, surprisingly, one of my viewers who's from the area of New Bedford that's been keeping up with me for a while, surprisingly as well too, that's a tattoo artist, that he might be doing a tattoo on me in February on my ribs, which means I only got about another 4 more months left on YouTube until I basically die with that session. But anyway, he told me about it. He said he's got all this new stuff, you gotta check it out, it's so awesome, you'll love it, just give it another shot. And I was like, why not? I'm in the area, see what will come of it. And god damn, I'm so glad this individual gave me the heads up, because the stuff I scored is fucking insane. For one, right here, a Judas Iscariot LP, that being the album of Great Eternity. This is a first press, it's not a bootleg from, Blake Jude, for $40 fucking dollars. Are you kidding me? Like, abso-fucking-lutely, like, that alone is awesome. But on top of it, too, I found another record that I thought I'd never get that is basically the only technical death metal album I'd ever recommend to you guys, like, strongly, and that would be the One Soul album by Lakatha in Flame, that being Elveniferous. God, this album is so incredible. On the internet, it's called happy death metal, which is ridiculous, but what it is, it's one of the only technical death metal albums I've ever come across that has, like, legitimate passion. It's not wankery. The composition sounds so professional, and just everything about this album is really articulate. Just nothing feels like filler, and it's just super energetic. On top of it too, all the guest spots they have with keyboards, violins, female vocals, other guest spot vocals on here. It's really well thought out, and it's one of the only technical death metal albums I'd say is like truly composed to like a professional degree. So that'll be playing in the background, and I can't stress this enough to check out this album if you haven't heard of it. Even if you can't stand technical death metal, this is the one album I would recommend within the genre that sounds top notch. Kicking off this vinyl collection part is going to be Obliteration, Black Death Horizon. This is a death metal band that I'm pretty sure is still active. This is the only record I have by them. And this was around the time of like 2015, 2016 when I got it, when I was going to Armageddon like every week. And I decided to give this a blind buy because it was only 15 bucks, and really there's not much to say about it. It's just death metal that takes obvious influence from that of, all the early death metal bands from the late 80s, stuff like Autopsy, Obituary, Unleashed to a certain degree, and that's really it. Like, I don't know, I've only spun this like maybe once or twice at the max, and I honestly kind of forgot I even had this. But if you're a fan of death metal, for the most part, I feel like you'll dig it just because it'll remind you of so many of the older names within the genre. Other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with lyrics, which, I mean, seriously, that's just fucking ridiculous how illegible that is to read, and just credits on the other side. Alright, so the next 2 albums are by the same band, and the problem I have is every review I've heard for this band, the individuals who've done those reviews have all said it completely differently, the pronunciation of the band name. So please tell me which is the correct way. But this is Obsequiae, Obsequiae, with their debut full-length album. These guys are a Minnesota-based black metal band that is considered medieval black metal, and I think a huge reason as to why they get that term tagged with them is that they include a harpist within their songwriting that really gives it like that kind of like Celtic medieval sound, which is quite unique and surprising over the fact that they're from the States, because again, I just don't really feel like the United States has that many black metal bands that are like boundary pushing. Like, yeah, we have some heavy hitters, I'm not denying that, but like boundary pushing or like really seeing where this genre can go, it doesn't really feel like there's that many within the States. So Obsequiae, again, all the different ways to say it, you gotta respect them for at least doing something a bit different here by including a harpist. And I do like the fact with the harp playing within all the Obsequiae albums is that there'll be instrumental breaks and you just get the harp playing, but it doesn't lose sight of the vibe and overall tone of like that medieval sound, and still becomes atmospheric and just kind of, you know, blends right in with the black metal instrumentation. So quite the standout overall. But other than that, it's put up through $20 spin, so it's really easy to get, so go there if you want to get a copy. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listing and more artwork. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with just liner notes and more photography on the other side. I also have their Sophomore full length, again done by Obsequiae, Obsequiae. Please, again, tell me how to say this band's name correctly. And this is where I truly feel like they expanded their sound to the next level, as most bands do typically with their Sophomore full length, but really they hit it out of the park with this album, because at this point now the harpist, I should say, I don't know why I said harp playing, but harpist really kind of intertwines his playing within the black metal segments and truly captivates the sound to something, again, to that medieval type of sound that feels authentic and real while still giving you the aggression and atmospheric sound you would want of black metal. And this album is easily their best to date. Obviously, they also did a follow-up to this. I want to say it was released around 2019 or 2018. I know it's one of those years. And it was a really solid release, but it didn't really sell me on it that much. Maybe I got to give it a few more listens. But I would say if you want to check these guys out, their Sophomore full length is easily their best so far. Again, it's put up through $20 spin, so if you want to get anything by this band, I'm pretty sure they're loaded up in stock on that label. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes with an insert sheet with artwork on one side, along with lyrics on the other. And this vinyl edition comes on swamp green with a little bit of a gold splatter in the middle of it. Oh no, we're at this band now. Oh man, I feel like I'm gonna give like PTSD to some of my old viewers, because I do still like this band. I think they're honestly a great band, but fuck, I overhyped them so hard in 2017, and that's why I feel kind of like embarrassed to talk about them again. But anyway, next up in the O's is going to be Obscuritatum's Vampire Cacophony. Up next in the O's is going to be Obscuritatum, Vampire's Cacophony. Up next in the O's is going to be Obscuritatum, Vampire's Cacophony. Up next in the O's is going to be Obscuritatum, Vampire's Cacophony. Oh my god, I have such a fucking problem. For the sake of it, I'll just hold this one record, and then I'll show the context of all the other ones in a second. But yes, in 2017, my god, I went head over heels very hard for Obscuritatum. And now that all the fanboy, you know, energy is out of me now after all these years, I can say realistically that yes, I still like this band. And what I still like about this particular release is that it's a blend of dark ambient noise kind of experimentation mixed with raw black metal. And I've just always found it so engaging compared to most other raw black metal bands, because for one, I've always considered Obscuritatum to be like the heaviest raw black metal band, considering when you listen to the vocals, it's really deep. It's not like the wretched type of like howls that you would find other bands do that sound like wolves in the distance. This has like such a wretched, pissed off sound to it that I feel like adds to like the necro type of attitude. As well too, the second portion of this demo really has like some jam out features to it with like guitar solos, again, riffs that just have a bit more melody to it that just feel like they're just jamming out genuinely, and it just sounds really kick-ass. But other than that, realistically, yes, I overhyped the fuck out of this a few years ago, and if you're a fan of raw black metal, you'll like it. But if you're not a fan of raw black metal, which again, a few years ago I made it seem like it's the best thing since sliced bread, you're not going to like it because it is dismal, it is harsh, and I don't feel like it's going to win over any new fans. But as you can see right here, this is the first press put out through Go to Warx. I have the other 3 individual presses, which I'll show in a second. But for the layout for this one, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with, I believe that's the sole member right there, along with credits on the other side. Then I have the second press. As you can see, it's different artwork. The font is red this time. And one thing I just want to point out that's so stupid, and you guys should keep up with this, is when a raw black metal band says this is a one and only time pressing, they're full of fucking shit. Because the first press I just showed you was a one and only time pressing. 6 months later, they do a second press. Then a year later, they do other represses that you can get affordably. So don't buy into that fucking hype. They just do that way they can sell the records quicker. But anyway, with the second press, as I stated, different artwork and font. So again, you have this artwork, backside with the track listings and a picture of the sole member right there. Comes with an insert sheet with a picture of the sole member, along with artwork on the other side. And this final edition comes on blood red vinyl. As for the third pressing, which they both were released on the same day, the artwork and layout is basically the same thing as the Go to Warx one, other than the fact that it has black game green on the bottom. And the only other difference is the inclusion of posters with these. The OG black and white album has this poster included with it, and the red one has this poster included with it, which, I'm not gonna lie, this seems like such a waste of paper. Like, all it is just his hands and just some tree branches. Like, who the fuck would honestly frame this? Up next is a compilation put out through Go to Warx, that being Black Metal Revivalism Part 1. If I'm not mistaken, about a year or two ago, they did a Part 2 to this series, but I never got around to getting it. But what sold me about this compilation is that it has both Obscuritatum and Reek of the Unzen Gas Fumes on this, which I thought was really cool because I'm quite the fan of both of those projects. But I gotta say, the band that has the best material on here, gotta give it up to Void Prayer. Their song really kills. It's My Mind Is As the Void, I felt like was the standout track on here. But other than that, it's kind of just like all throwaway tracks, I feel like, considering that every band on here only did one song. And I don't know, I know it's a compilation, they all contribute their own material, but it just doesn't have anything stand out about it other than the fact that it's Go to Warx and you have these bands that are really quite hyped up from the label. But again, as I stated, Reek and Obscuritatum are the selling points for me on here. It's really kind of more of a collection piece than something I actually listen to. But yeah, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the bands and track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl, but what is really cool is that it comes with this zine, and as you can see right here, it's of the artwork of Berserk with Guts and his Berserk armor. That's fucking badass, and I love it. And it's just really all an interview with Danny from Go to Warx as a zine, which is pretty neat. And yeah, really the standout thing about the whole packaging is the artwork for this zine. Oh, we're not out of the woods yet with the dick riding train of my collection with Obscuritatum, because next up is a compilation by Obscuritatum that I honestly can't pronounce as the font makes this kind of hard to read, but it's all the works of Obscuritatum of his demo works. And really what this is, it's not really black metal at all. It's more, I want to say like 80% of it is just dark ambient noise than anything else. That you'll get some kind of like hisses and shrieks by the vocalist within the dark ambient portions of it. And it's really not until side D where there's anything really even black metal about it with any kind of guitars, percussions. I just thought it was a cool collection piece considering the fact that all the demo tapes are impossible to get, and this was the only way to hear any of that material on wax, so that was really the selling point for me. Put it through Black Gangrene. I have no idea if this is still available. Probably sold out. Check on Discogs, and that's the only bit of advice I can give you. But yeah, I don't spend all that much, and it's more of a collection piece for my, obsession with this band, considering that they're kind of the reason why I became so fascinated for a little bit anyway, with like really obscure raw black metal. And I still keep up with them, but again, it's not really anything I spend all that much. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, which I will admit looks really cool. Backside with all the track listings. Double LP both come on black vinyl, along with an insert sheet with just liner notes, basically telling me personally probably to go fuck myself because I gave them all the attention, and just more thank yous and fuck offs on the other side. Then I have the debut full-length album by Obscuritatum, which again, can't pronounce, all I can say it is the debut, and again, this is where I really overhyped it. I think, oh my god, the WideXM Archives channel still has my review up of this, which, it's not the fact that that channel exists. I mean, it's kind of like a funny, kind of like throwback type of time capsule channel for me now, how I look at it. But man, I gave this like way too much of praise, because there is so much that's missing on this full length that made the demos and Vampire's Cacophony special. All the dark ambient noise experimentation is completely gone here. I think there's one track that's like an interlude track for like 90 seconds that has it. Everything else is just standard raw black metal, really stripped down. That's honestly just a dime a dozen, and it's just an okay album at best. And god damn it, I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self to shut the fuck up, because it's nothing that special. But yeah, other than that, it's just standard raw black metal. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes with an insert sheet with artwork on one side, additional artwork on the other side. Folds out like so, and where is it? Because in the liner notes right here, I swear to God, I felt like to this day this quote was always meant to me specifically. It says, Obscuritatum also spits in the face of everyone who uploads its music on the internet to support and promote it. And here we go. Obscuritatum does not need any kind of support nor promotion by anyone. Fuck off. To this day, I've always felt like that was meant towards me for all the hype I gave it around 2017, because you know how black metal bands are, support but also go fuck yourself. It's like such an oxymoron. Moving on with even more Obscuritatum is this EP right here called, and I'm gonna butcher it, Pro Officifo Mortorum. Tried my best. It's 2 tracks, and it's the same track recorded in 2018 and the other one recorded in 2011. And one of them is 20 minutes long and the other is 17 and a half minutes long. And honestly, this is some pretty solid stuff, as it's raw black metal obviously, but that dark ambient experimentation is found on both tracks. And the riffs are quite melodic for the most part, and it has like that hard-hitting sound that I enjoyed about Obscuritatum with Vampire's Cacophony. And the 2018 version, I would say, is more black metal fueled, whereas the 2011 version is more dark ambient noise kind of oriented. Still, overall, not trying to oversell it, this is some really solid material by Obscuritatum, this EP right here. And I'm pretty sure you can still get it fairly for a reasonable price, either on Discogs or Black Gangrene. Might still carry copies of this. Other than that, for the layout and packaging, it's pretty bare bones. You have album artwork, backside with the track listings, and as you would guess, standard black vinyl. Then I have the Sophomore full length by Obscuritatum, which I will admit is a massive step up from the debut album. Because again, what makes Obscuritatum special in my eyes for raw black metal is when he encompasses dark ambience and noise and just basically engulfs you in it, and you just get consumed by it. That it's just nothing but darkness and hatred. And again, I know it's really stereotypical for raw black metal, but it just works for the approach Obscuritatum has always done. And he brings that type of influence back with the Sophomore album, and I thought it was really, really good for the most part. I think it was one of my favorite albums of 2020. But yeah, if you want to get into this band and you want to check out the full lengths, the Sophomore album is superior to the debut by miles because of the dark ambient experimentation on here. Add to the fact too, again, the vocals are just so hideous and heavy. I think it really just amplifies the darkness and hatred of the dark ambience to the next step. So solid stuff by this project right here. Again, put out through Black Gangrene. Not sure if it's still available there, but that's my best guess as to where you can get a copy of this. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with the individual himself right there. More artwork and liner notes on the other side, and just folds out with some passageways and more photography on the inside. Okay, last thing, I swear that's Obscuritatum related, and then we can move on to the next band. But this is a two-way split between Obscuritatum and I guess this band's name is called Rape. Yeah, I had no idea that this was ever released until randomly Arcane Altar had copies of it. Decided why not just add more records to the pile within my Obscuritatum collection, because I've kind of obviously become like a collector scum bag for this band. And really all it is I've noticed is when Obscuritatum, the individual behind it, does either splits or collaborations, more likely than not, it's going to be stuff that's in the realms of just straight up dark ambience and noise and power electronics. Really nothing about it is black metal other than the whole vibe of it being so dark and just necro-fueled. And Rape, which is such a great name, is just a power electronics project. There's nothing else to say about it. And yeah, it's just really a dark ambient split than anything else, and that's really it. There's nothing else to say about it. Other than that, put out through Black Gangrene. So again, if you want Obscuritatum merch, for the most part, they should still carry copies and other merchandise there. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl, wow, shocker, along with an insert sheet with just notes on one side and a picture of the two on the other. Proceeding on next, finally, to a different band within this vinyl collection part. And next up is arguably one of, if not the greatest symphonic black metal albums ever made. And obviously that would be Obtained Enslavement, Witchcraft. Wow, 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 and wow, this album is magnificent from start to finish. If you think black metal is just talentless rubbish that has just mindless shrieks, endless blast beats with no creativity, and tremolo-picked riffs that have no artistic value, for one, you're very wrong, but in two, you have no idea that this album exists, because this is a work of art. It's not just a black metal album. And it's one of the very few black metal albums that comes to mind that I think of is highly appraised by all black metal fans, and I've never heard not even the slightest negative thing ever said about it. It's just positivity and praise non-stop, and it deserves every syllable of positivity it gets throughout the years, because truly what makes this magnificent is, from what I've heard, I don't know if it's either Pest or Hex, I know it's one of the members within this band during this time, but one of the members actually has a strong foundation of knowledge upon that of classical music theory, and it showcases on this album, because the standout features about it are the classical moments that are just written masterfully. The keyboard work is like, guy, this sounds like some type of like, I don't know, like conductor or composer from like centuries ago, and it just is blended together with mid-90s black metal, and it's just written masterfully. Seriously, the symphonic moments on this album are truly what make this special. The black metal moments, how the vocals are executed and the riffs, top-notch too, but the symphonic and keyboard work is incredible on this. I can't stress it enough. And I know when it comes to symphonic black metal, I feel like the reputation has really been damaged for the most part, and it's not really its own fault. I feel like a lot of the fans just look at the big names and they blame them on it. For instance, when Cradle of Filth around the turn of the millennia to the mid and late 2000s, you know, changed up their sound kind of a bit to be more gothic fueled, and the black metal portions were very accessible, and a lot of people kind of shit on them for that. Then Dimmy Borgir had a lot of stinkers around the mid 2000s, and Kara Hungaren is another one that comes to mind because of their whole meme culture of like, you're the wrong force, motherfucker, with those shirts. And their latest albums are just very overblown with synth work, and there's nothing really metal about it. And I feel like a lot of fans look at the big names and think, well, that's just symphonic black metal, that's it. It's just all overblown keyboards and there's nothing really metal about it. And I think that's just really narrow-sighted when it comes to this style, because stuff like Obtained Enslavement exists, and this right here is like the magnum opus that will make you rethink about your own opinions with symphonic black metal. So I highly, highly recommend you check this out if you haven't. As well, too, to just really drive home my praise with it. If you think Emperors in the Nightside Eclipse is the best symphonic black metal album, which that album is legendary, it's amazing, it's awesome, but if you think that is the best within the subgenre, what you're telling me is you have no idea that this album exists. That's all I'm hearing, so I can't stress it enough. Once again, check this album out. Thankfully and finally, Peaceville did a repress for this back in 2018 and snapped it up right away. So if you want to get a copy of it, Peaceville carries copies. As for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings and band photo. It comes on a standard black vinyl, but it does have a printed inner sleeve, both sides with lyrics. Up next is Occult Burial with their album Hideous Obscure. These guys are a speed metal band that also have a bit of, I want to say, black metal to a certain degree, kind of laced together with their sound, and their influence is obviously that of first wave black metal. So think of Sarcophago, Bathory, even a bit of Merciful Fate and Sodom to a certain degree too on here. It's really just carrying the old sound for the newer generation is really what this is. And it's top notch. So yeah, if you enjoy first wave black metal of any of the bands I just named, I think for the most part this album will definitely click with you. As well too, I'm pretty sure it was either this year or last year they have their follow-up album, and I definitely need to get around to checking it out. But again, from what I've heard from this debut album, it's really top-notch stuff. Anyway, as for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. Comes on a standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with lyrics on one side and band photo and logo on the other. And even more black metal, because next up is Oferwintran with the debut full-length album. If I'm not mistaken, he also did a demo previous to this, and this was put out through Darker Than Black, and I bought this through Merchant of Death. And side note, Merchant of Death, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that label and distro right now, but I am done buying from them, as this took 9 months to get to me. As well too, I had an order put in around November of 2020, and I'm still waiting for it. So I don't know what's going on with that distro. A lot of other people have complained with me as well, so I'm not the only one, so it's not just people in the States. So I'm done with Merchant of Death until he gets his shit together, because that distro is kind of like a mess right now. But anyway, Oferwintran is a black metal band, I believe based out of the UK, surprisingly, and I say that because this just sounds like straight up Finnish black metal worship. If you like Horna, Sargeist, Satanic Warmaster, you're going to love it, because the riffs sound nearly identical to it and take such a strong influence from it. And from start to finish, a lot of these tracks just stand shoulder to shoulder with one another. It just carries the same energy and pace from each track on, and it's overall just a fun listen if you're looking for just riff-heavy, heavily influenced Finnish black metal from the UK, again, surprisingly. Definitely check this out. As for the layout and packaging, however, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings, and this LP edition comes on crystal clear vinyl. Second to last for this vinyl collection part is going to be Odz Manouk. This is a black metal band, I believe, based out of California, and for the longest time I've always thought it was a part of the Black Twilight Circle, but it isn't. It just happens to be in the same area. And it's just overall really good atmospheric black metal. A bit raw in some cases, but nothing like necro harsh. And riffs are just really powerful and enjoyable. It's just, I don't know, there's really nothing like unique about it, but the songwriting is just strong and it has that reliable sound. If you're a fan of black metal, more than likely you will enjoy it, but that's all the praise I can give it. So again, if you're just a diehard black metal fan, you'll find something to enjoy with it. But yeah, put out through Final Agony, which, man, I totally forgot about that label. I don't even think that's even the name anymore. I think it's changed to, Black Omen, if I'm not mistaken. But, yeah, if you want to get this, I guess try Discogs, because it's been long gone sold out. Anyway, other than that, for the layout and packaging, you have album artwork, backside with all the track listings, and just comes on a standard black vinyl. And the last record for this vinyl collection part is going to be Operation Bolstad, Sex with Satan. This is the latest release by this red anarchist black metal band from Germany, and funny enough, after I did my video all about RABM, I actually became like good Facebook friends with the individual sole member of this project. And while the overall music isn't anything groundbreaking or something you haven't heard of, it's just riff heavy, straight to the point, stripped down black metal. That's really all it is. Just the unintentional irony that's attached with this project, I just find really funny and just enjoyable for the most part. Like, yeah, the songwriting is solid, but people criticize it because, oh, it sounds like Monarch, it sounds like they're pooper, this sucks, why are you copying these bands? So, alright, so the songwriting isn't good then, what you're saying. These are also the same people that would say, oh yeah, Monarch, Der Stummer, and all these other sketchy bands, I like them not because of the politics, I like them because of the riffs. So, why is it that you can separate the art from the artist they saying that they love using when it comes to all like those sketchy bands, but when someone on the complete opposite end of the spectrum sounds just like it, you can't do it all of a sudden? You're a fucking hypocrite. Swallow your pride and get over it, alright? Because if you're going to say I separate art from the artist, that means both spectrums, not just one, so hate to break it to you. But again, overall, I think it's solid, it's well written for the most part, and if you just like strip down black metal, definitely check this project out if you can separate the art from the artist, after all. But anyway, for the layout and packaging with this, you have album artwork, backside with the track listings. It's also hand numbered, put out through Feral Age Records. I got number 142 out of 300. Comes on standard black vinyl along with an insert sheet with lyrics on one side and just a passageway and notes on the other. Alright guys, that'll do it for this vinyl collection part. Like always, links provided to everything I've talked about will be in the description below, and that is that. So like always guys, make sure you guys drink plenty of water to stay hydrated and have a great day.